Well, she spent 16 years as the host of Access Hollywood, covering all of the glitz and glamour in Hollywood from the red carpet. But this past summer, Shaun Robinson, who's joining me in studio right now, left the show for a new venture. But now she's back here in Detroit, where she started her career, in fact. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, born and raised here in Detroit. Don't
born
forget
and raised.
That now. I'm back in my hometown in the D.
Where did you go to school in Detroit?
I went to Cass Tech.
Surprise, surprise.
Of course. Hey there, Cass CT in the house.
Yes, and they're actually celebrating their 100th anniversary.
I know. I will be there.
You'll be there.
I didn't register anything. I saw it watching your show, so I'm just going to crash.
All right. I don't think they'll mind. I have a feeling they might not mind. But let's start a little bit about your career, because you actually started here in Detroit.
I certainly did.
Did you ever think that the Midwestern girl would be in Hollywood?
Yeah,
you did.
I did, because I've always had a dream. I've always had a dream to do a national entertainment show, and back then entertainment wasn't huge, but I knew that I wanted to do something on a national scale. And the reason I'm here in town is because we are celebrating the first place where I got my start, and that's WGPR TV. And did you know that WGPR was the first African-American owned station in the country and the first 24-hour station? Okay, so after I graduated from Spelman College in Atlanta, I came back here to Detroit, and I really wanted to, I wanted to get into TV. And it was really difficult. I didn't have any experience or anything, and so when I went to WGPR, they gave me my first start, and I was reporting, didn't know what the heck I was doing, okay? Reporting and anchoring, and eventually had a talk show on WGPR called Strictly Speaking.
Wow.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
Well, yeah, there were a lot of steps.
A lot of steps along the way.
A lot of steps along the way. But
you're actually here to do something with them. They have an exhibit.
Exactly, and we're coming up on the one of the huge milestones of WGPR. And at the Detroit Historical Museum, they are actually presenting an exhibit to WGPR. And so what it is, this is so cool. I want you, Everett, you have to come.
I will.
Okay, you have to come, because it's going to show you from the beginning of WGPR back in 1975, all the way to when the station actually went off the air. Do you know that President Gerald Ford actually gave a video tribute to WGPR when it first launched? So you're going to see that tribute. You're going to see all the people that worked at the station in terms of the display that they have there, and just about the historical significance of the first African-American owned television station in the country.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, and the fact that it did give so many people, not only in front of the camera like me, but behind the camera also, the opportunity to get experience and then go on to other things.
And that is very cool. And from there, you mentioned you had several stops along the way, eventually ending
Can I say something? Do you know I came to Channel 4 one time trying to get a job, and they didn't hire me?
I wonder who made that decision. And look at her now, everybody. Look at her now. Access Hollywood is the place that you spent 16 years.
Can I tell you one more thing? Can I tell you one more thing? Guess who lived next door to me?
Who?
For years. Carmen Harlan.
Are you serious?
Right next door. We were neighbors.
Wow.
Yes, her mom and then my parents lived right next door to each other.
And,
and I remember she got the job here, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she was one of my role models. Yes, Carmen. Hey, Carmen.
All right, and we know she's watching. So, hey, Carmen. Let's talk about Access Hollywood, though, a place that you spent 16 years.
That's a long time. And that was before I started at Access Hollywood, before social media even began, before Facebook. That's a long time.
What was maybe one of your craziest stories that you remember covering?
Well, let's see, crazy. Okay, one of my craziest interviews was with Al Pacino. Have you heard this story?
No.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So there are stars in Hollywood, and then there are stars. Al Pacino he's a star. Okay. So I was interviewing him for a junket, and I was really, really nervous. And I interview everybody, but I was very, very nervous about this interview with him. So we're sitting there preparing for the interview, and there was a crumb on his lip. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want this interview to be perfect. And I was trying to motion to his publicist, tell him to wipe the crumb off his lip, And she was like, what? So right before we began the interview, I said, Mr. Pacino, I'm just so sorry. Let me just wipe the crumb. There's a crumb on your lip right here. And I got this close and realized it was a mole.
What did you do? What did you do? How do you backpedal out of that one?
I said, Mr. Pacino, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he was really cool about it. He goes, just call me Mole Man. Just call me Mole Man. So that was one of my most embarrassing moments. One of the highlights of my career was going over to Johannesburg, South Africa to cover the opening of the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. So I was very, very excited about doing that.
We know that you've also covered the Oscars. So let's talk Oscars. And
wait, okay, no. I've covered 16 Oscars.
16 Oscars year after year, every time you were.
16 Oscars, 16 Emmys, 16 Grammys, 16 Golden Globes. It's been a long road. Okay,
so I want to get your take on the lack of diversity. Some people in Hollywood, minorities in Hollywood, wanting to boycott it. What is your take on all of that?
Well, here's the thing. Whether a boycott will work this year or not, I mean, that is to be seen. I think that's an individual choice. But let's talk about the different issues, because there's not just one issue when it comes to diversity in Hollywood. And I've talked to actresses. I have actresses who are friends, dear friends of mine, and actors who are dear friends of mine. First of all, it starts with what the studios are greenlighting. Studios seem to have this repetitive frame of mind. Well, if this has worked in the past, then this is only going to work in the future, okay? So when they are only green lighting certain types of films and certain types of films that don't tell stories about all people, then you're going to see the same types of movies being nominated and being presented every single year. It also has to do with when producers or directors are casting in movies. You see a lot. Think about many of the movies that you watch and realize how many roles are colorblind roles that could go to a person of any color. And when you see that movie, there's just no people of color. So that is an issue also. It is also an issue about where you are spending your box office dollars. Are you supporting the films that you want to see more of? And, if you're not doing that, then look, one color that studios see is green.
We know that's true.
Okay, so you have to start putting your box office dollars where you want to see, where you want to see those films being made. But it's the people who are voting in the Academy, those are the people who make the movies, and it has to be a more diverse group. I mean, come on, having a great percentage of people who are just white males, I mean, that isn't, that's not reflective of our society at all.
Very interesting. Would you support the boycott, or do you think something different needs to happen?
Will I not tune in? I will tune in because I am a journalist and I want to see what's going on. I want to see, what movies are chosen. I want to see what Chris Rock has to say. And the other thing is that Reginald Hudlin, who is the producer of the show, and Cheryl Boone Isaacs, who is the head of the Academy, are both friends of mine. So I want to see what kind of show they put on. I support anybody who decides not to do that. As Jada Pinkett Smith said, look, if they want to see change, we're going to have to force them to see change.
That's very true.
But realize that it's not just about, I've heard some people say, oh, it's just because Will Smith didn't get a nomination, or it's just because Straight Outta Compton didn't get a nomination. Will Smith and Straight Outta Compton aren't the only movies out there, and he's not the only actor out there. There are many, many, many films that are made each year that you don't get to see because they don't have the dollars for the campaign, because Oscar is a campaign.
That is true.
It's a campaign. I get screeners every year from movies. I have like tons of screeners sent to me by producers, by studios, saying, vote for this actor for the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards. If you're not a big budget movie, you don't have the money for that campaign. you don't have the money to send out screeners to everybody.
That is
so
true.
your movie is less likely to get seen.
Okay.
So you know, it's about giving everybody a level playing field. Number one, making sure you make your voice heard in terms of, I know she's wrapping me up, she wants me to hurry up, but
yes.
I want to say that it's making sure that your voice is heard and that you use your dollars where you want to be seen, where you want those movies to be seen.
And in 30 seconds before we let you go, tell us why you left Access Hollywood and where we can get more information about what you're doing next, real quick.
It's been 16 years.
Long time.
It's been a long time, and there's so many more things to do. I have a new production company. We have a slate of shows that I will be talking about pretty soon that I'm really, really excited about, and I'm doing more on camera things. I'll always be in front of the camera doing something, but I just don't want to sit there and talk about some of them folks I talk about. You know who I'm talking about.
Right.
But I want everybody to come out Saturday. Everybody needs to come out Saturday to the Detroit Historical Museum to see the WGPR exhibit. It's going to be fantastic. Everett, you best be there.
I will be there.
Okay.
This is our new friend, Shaun Robinson, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And we will keep in touch.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you. Awesome.